Hello everyone, and welcome to the pgAdmin and PostgreSQL installation lecture. In this lecture, we're going to briefly discuss what is pgAdmin. We'll give you some notes over the various versions of pgAdmin, and then we'll go over the installation guide. So let's discuss what is pgAdmin. Usually when you're working with a SQL engine, whether it be MySQL, PostgreSQL, Microsoft SQL Server, you're going to be working through some sort of graphical interface, not just direct to the command line. Although you can work direct to the command line, it's much easier to use one of these graphical interface tools, sometimes known as GUIs or Graphical User Interface. pgAdmin is the most popular interface for PostgreSQL. Now, a quick note about the versions of pgAdmin. pgAdmin 4 recently came out and it's officially out of beta. It used to be a little buggy for students, so when this course was filmed, we filmed it with pgAdmin 3. But keep in mind, all the SQL commands will work the same with pgAdmin 4. So even though the interface may look a little different, the course notes and SQL notes will all work the same regardless of what pgAdmin version you're using. Now let's go ahead and go over the installation for this lecture. In this lecture, we're going to go ahead and install PostgreSQL and pgAdmin through a convenient interactive installer. Then what you'll go ahead and do is download the .tar file, which is a resource for this lecture. We'll use that .tar file to restore our film stored database, which is the main database we're going to be using while we're learning how to program with SQL in this course. Later on, you'll get another .tar file for another database for another assessment test. In order to get started, let's go ahead and go to www.postgresql.org. I'm going to go ahead and jump to my browser and meet you at that website. Alright, here I am at PostgreSQL. What you're going to go ahead and do is click on this Download tab, or if you want, you can actually just go directly to www.postgresql.org/download. And you should see something that looks like this, Downloads. What you're going to go ahead and do is come down and choose the pre-built package, which corresponds to your OS. So if you're using Mac OS, you'll go ahead and click on this link right here. If you're on Windows, you'll go ahead and click on this link. And if you're on Linux, depending on what version you're using, you have a bunch of options here. So if you go to either Mac OS package or the Windows installer package, you should see some sort of installer by Enterprise DB. So you'll see it on both this Windows installer and on this Mac OS X package. So what you're going to go ahead and do is basically download this installer from Enterprise DB, and then you'll go ahead and follow the instructions that the graphical or interactive installer prompts you to. So again, we're going to be using the Enterprise DB. You'll see that in both pages for Mac OS and Windows, there's another installer by Big SQL. Some students sometimes have trouble with this one, so I really recommend this Enterprise DB. So let's go ahead and download the installer. And this installer actually includes not just PostgreSQL, but it also includes pgAdmin, the graphical tool for managing and developing these databases. So instead of having to download pgAdmin and PostgreSQL separately, we're going to go ahead and download it all together. So once you click that link, it should take you to this Enterprise DB, and you'll get the same link whether you're on Mac OS or Windows. And let's go ahead and just zoom in a bit. And you'll see that there's versions here you can download. There's 9.6, 9.55, and what these versions actually mean, this is the version of PostgreSQL. So we're going to be using pgAdmin 4 for this installation lecture, and we'll also use version 9.6.1. You'll want to use the latest version that is not in beta. So right now, there is no beta version up here, but later on you may be seeing something like 9.7 or maybe 9.6.2, etc. And if it says beta there, go ahead and skip down one to the latest version that is not in beta. All right, so go ahead and click the relevant operating system link here. So if you're on Mac OS, you'll click this one. I'm on a Windows right now, so I will go ahead and click Windows 64-bit. Make sure you check whether you have a 32-bit Windows computer or 64-bit. If you're on some sort of relatively modern Windows computer, it's probably going to be 64-bit. Let me go ahead and click on this to begin the download. So that's beginning the download. I'm going to go ahead and jump forward in time for the download to finish. I'll see you there. Okay, so my download has completed. Let's go ahead and open up this executable file. And if you see some Microsoft Visual pop up, you can go ahead and continue through that. All right, so here we are at the installer. Go ahead and click Next through the setup. You'll want to specify the directory where PostgreSQL will be installed. Go ahead and just choose the default C Program Files, PostgreSQL, and you should see something like 9.6 or 9.7, depending on what versions you're doing. Right now we're just on 9.6, so let's go ahead and click Next. Then you'll want to select the directory under which to store your data. Default's fine. And then this is a really, really important part. It's going to ask you to please provide a password for the database superuser, Postgres. It's extremely important that you remember what you're going to type here. I'm going to just go ahead and use a very simple one. I'm going to write password. And like I mentioned, it's extremely important that you remember. So go ahead and write this down somewhere, whatever you typed in for your password here. Okay, then you're going to want to select the port number the server should listen on. You'll want to go ahead and choose the default. Default value in my case is 5433. Most likely that will also be the same default value for you. So go ahead and just leave the default there. Click Next. And you'll want to select the location or locale to be used for the new database cluster. Go ahead and just use the default. That's also okay. And now setup is now ready to begin. So go ahead and click Next. And you should see it installing. Okay, so it's creating all the directories and setting up everything for PostgreSQL. We'll go ahead and fast forward through this and get to the next step. So I'm going to go ahead and jump forward in time now. All right, so my installation has finished. Now at the very end of that installation, you should see something like, do you want to check out Stack Builder? You can go ahead and just uncheck that box. It's not necessary. Once you have that, you should be able to open up pgAdmin 4. In this case, you can actually just search your computer for it. So you can see pgAdmin. I have both versions here, the old one, pgAdmin 3, but let's go ahead and click on pgAdmin 4 and see what it looks like. So pgAdmin 4 should look a lot slicker and cleaner than pgAdmin 3. Alright, so now I can see here that pgAdmin 4 has been loaded and opened, and we should see some servers here. I have 9.5 and 9.6. If you don't see these servers, then something probably went wrong with your installation, so go ahead and check that again. But if you followed all the instructions, it should have worked fine for you. And the only one you should see, if this is your first time running this, is just 9.6. But you should see at least one server here. And here we can go ahead and see something that looks like this. It'll say, please enter the password for the user Postgres, and then connect to the server. This is where you're going to enter the password that you saved earlier. So go ahead and just put that in. And I'm going to click here, Save Password. That way you don't have to constantly enter this. Click OK. And you should see something that looks like this. So everything's working fine. All right, so once you're at this screen, what we're going to go ahead and do is restore a database using the .tar file. So remember to download the .tar file, which is a resource for this lecture. You'll go ahead and right-click here. You'll say Create Database, and then you'll have the database name option. In this case, I'm going to call this database DVD Rental, and then click Save. That created the DVD rental database that you can see here. We'll go ahead and click on it, and you should see something that looks like this: casts, catalogs, events, triggers, etc. Now right now we just have an empty database. We actually need to restore some data to it. Okay, now that we created a new database called DVD rental, let's go ahead and use the .tar file from the resource section of this lecture in order to actually restore this database with some sort of data information. And we'll go ahead and right-click on this, and then you will click Restore. Now you may get a pop-up that says something like this: please configure the PostgreSQL binary path in the Preferences dialog. So if you get this pop-up, let me go ahead and show you how you can create this configuration. You'll go ahead and just click OK, and then you will click File, Preferences, and I'm going to make this full screen here, and you'll see something that says Paths, Binary Paths over here. And what you're going to go ahead and do is just post the PostgreSQL binary path. Now this sounds kind of intimidating, but it's actually quite simple. You're just going to find the binary path where it was default located. So let me go ahead and show you how you can find that. It should be a really similar process on your Mac computer, but I'll show you how to do this on Windows. Go ahead and jump to your program files to PostgreSQL. I'm going to go ahead and do that now. So here I am under Program Files, PostgreSQL. This is just the default location where everything was installed. You should have 9.6 somewhere. You probably don't have these DVD rental.tar files yet if you haven't done it. But go ahead and see 9.6, and then there's a bin folder here. Double click on that, and this is the folder you need to get to. So it just should be under the default location, Program Files, PostgreSQL 9.6 bin. So wherever it was default installed on your computer, go ahead and then go to 9.6, and you should see some sort of folder called bin. That's what pgAdmin 4 wants to know. This is the location it's asking for. And you can see up here it says path to the directory containing utility programs, pgdump, pgrestore, etc. So if you scroll down here until you get to the P's, you should see stuff like pg_dump, pg_restore somewhere around here. There it is. So if you want, if you're having trouble finding this, you can just search your computer for these actual file names, and then it should take you to this bin folder. So what we're going to go ahead and do is just copy this address and then paste it here. So by default, it should be under C, Program Files, PostgreSQL 9.6 bin, and then hit OK. All right, so now let's go ahead and try this again. We'll right-click DVD Rental, hit Restore, and now you should see something that looks like this, Restore the Database. We want to select the format, so we want a custom or tar. Okay, now that we've set up custom or tar file here, we want to go ahead and put in the file name. So you have a couple options here. If you click on these three dots here, you may get a bug and you may have a hard time actually finding the DVD rental file. You'll get something that pops up saying that there's no disk found in drive F. So instead of actually searching for this manually, it's usually much easier to just put in the whole file path here. So go ahead and go to wherever you happen to put the dvdrental.tar file. In my case, it's under downloads. I'm going to go ahead and go to that now. And you'll see something that looks like this. So I have it under my downloads here. Here's the dvdrental.tar file I downloaded. I'm going to right-click, go to its properties, and then I should see the file path here. So it says location. I'm going to go ahead and just copy that location, then hit OK or cancel, whatever. And then I'm going to paste that in, and then I'm going to do another slash and say dvdrental.tar. So here it is saved under my downloads, dvdrental.tar. As I mentioned, if you click on this three dots here, sometimes it's a little bit buggy. So go ahead and just instead put in the whole path to the file. Then I want to go ahead and just briefly show you the restore options. So in these restore options, let me expand this to all screen. You can actually select to only install schema by clicking on this switch button here, or only the data. And later on we'll discuss or have a little exercise for you to actually try to restore only the schema or only the data. Basically what that means is if you only want to return the actual tables themselves, not the actual data that's in the tables, so you're trying to duplicate the format, you can install something like only schema. But for right now, go ahead and leave these all to the default. A lot of them should just say no. Come back to the general, you have your file name, your format, go ahead and then click restore. And it should say restore job created. It'll give you a little countdown of how long it's taking, and then it should hopefully say successfully completed. And then what you'll need to do is check here, and we'll go ahead and click refresh. And this step is really important, otherwise it may look like you haven't done anything. So click on refresh, it'll go ahead and refresh that DVD rental file. Come down here, click on schemas. You should see a public schema, and then you should come down here to where it says tables, expand that, and now you should see actor, address, category, city, etc. So if you're seeing all that, you are good to go. Let me go ahead and walk you through a simple SQL query on this new database you have. All right, now that we've successfully restored this database, let's confirm that everything is working by executing our first simple query. Now again, don't worry if you don't understand everything that I'm about to type in this query. That's the whole point of this course. We're going to teach you SQL, but let's go ahead and kind of do a hello world example just by selecting all the columns and all the rows in a table. So I will right click on DVD rental, and then I will click on, if you go down here, there's the query tool, has a little lightning rod. Go ahead and click on that. You should see a new window pop up that looks like this. And then what you're going to go ahead and write is select asterisk from, and then choose any of these tables that are down here. I'm going to go ahead and choose the actor table. So we'll say from actor, semicolon, and that's it. So basically what this is saying is select all the rows from the actor table. And I'm going to come over here to this lightning rod and then click on execute and refresh. Now when you click on execute and refresh, you may get something that looks like this. It's like a little data grid. You can go ahead and click back here to your normal tab, and you should see the results, so the data output. So here I see the actor ID, the first name, and the last name, and then the last update. So this is the actual data from my table. So if you are able to see this data output, it means you are good to go, and I will see you at the next lecture. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to post to the Q&A forums. I know there's a lot of steps here, but make sure you actually rewatch the video and follow all the steps, and make sure you got everything right before posting to the Q&A forums in case you ran into something or forgot a step. Thanks everyone, and I'll see you at the next lecture.